But first, Labor's embattled Home Affairs Minister has drawn criticism from nearly everyone uncomfortable with the idea of pedophiles and murderers without citizenship being poured into the country. But for the ABC's Media Watch program, literally titled Demonised Detainees, host Paul Barry defended the criminals. His argument? Well, for all we know, a bunch of the detainees could be really good people.
The exact makeup of this group is still unclear, but human rights lawyers tell us some will have committed no crime at all and simply had their visas cancelled. And as terror expert Greg Barton explained to Carl right at the start,
most of the cases are people who've done a crime, served their time, but rather than being released because they're not citizens, they're detained so that they can be deported. Turns out they can't be deported, so the High Court said, well, you can't add, perhaps years and years of a sentence to somebody as a government by extended detention when they've served their time.
So how much truth is there in the narrative that a whole bunch of people didn't commit a crime? We've known for a while that it isn't true. 2 weeks ago, when the number of criminals released was 92, the SMH published details of the category of crime that these people had committed. Now, of that figure 92, 21 were deemed Category 1 detainees, meaning they included gang members, and not just gang members, but high-profile or high-ranking ones. Another 27 were placed into Category 2, which is a descriptor for very serious violent offences, very serious crimes against children, very serious family domestic violence, or violent, sexual or exploitative offences against women. 35 of the detainees were in Category 3 and 4, which is for violent, sexual or exploitative offences. Just 9 people fell into the general cancellation category, of which no criminal descriptor is attached. Now, Paul Barry could have looked at this data, but he misled his viewers on the ABC into thinking a great injustice had been committed against innocent, stateless individuals. In reality, the overwhelming majority of these people are crooks who should be booted out of our country by whatever means possible. Only the ABC would dedicate tax dollars to the defence of a person who raped a 10-year-old boy. And only the ABC would make an argument like this.
a panic that is out of proportion to the real risk posed. And few have even attempted to ask what we could or should do with people who are stateless or, for whatever reason, cannot be deported. As Julia Baird, host of ABC's The Drum, said a fortnight ago,
when exactly, as a society, did we decide that locking people up indefinitely was okay? Like forever, without reasonable prospect of release?
Well, joining me on the show is media writer for The Australian, Sophie Ellsworth, and the PR Council's Christy McSweeney. Sophie, welcome back. Let's start with you. This has been a massive story. It's a story that's plagued Labor, but the thing I'm interested in is this obscene defence for this High Court decision that we seem to be hearing on the ABC.
Well, Jack, it's great to be back. And look, I'm not really surprised that the taxpayer-funded broadcaster has taken this view on the release of these detainees, but I think it's incredibly concerning for the Australian public. They deserve to know who these people are, what offences they had committed, and what the ramifications are. And there were murderers, or are murderers and rapists among them, that are, among those that are now able to be freed. So I think it does deserve prominent coverage in the media, because as Australian citizens and residents, they deserve to know what is going on. So the fact that the ABC's leapt to the defence is a concern, but Jack, I must be honest, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, Christy, Paul Barry is going to do what Paul Barry does best. And, in this situation, it's defending the indefensible. But, I had a conversation with Liberal Senator James Patterson recently, who the way that he described it, the overwhelming majority of these detainees are serious criminals, not the other way around. But in the media, we seem to have this narrative creeping through that the overwhelming majority are just these poor stateless victims.
It's pretty bad to hear someone with a significant public voice say out of proportion to the real risk posed. Now, we all know from our criminal justice system across many, many states, with a lot of Attorney Generals being soft on crime, people who commit serious crimes against women, serious crimes against children, they are released on early parole due to issues, political traction that governments gain, and they reoffend and they recommit. The Australian public knows that it's very, very rare for murderers, rapists and pedophiles to be fully rehabilitated. They are right to be concerned. And if the Australian Labor Party thinks that that's not the case, all they need to do is look through the case histories of all these people that have committed serious crimes against women and children and their early parole release files and note that most of them have reoffended.
Yeah, well said. And to Sophie's point, the public deserves to know who these people are.